I let my brother run the ranch. Then I made sure he'd never benefit again. I didn't leave Montana because I was weak. My name is Jackson Hayes, and I left because someone had to think beyond cattle and dirt. Someone had to see the future, while everyone else stared at the horizon. My younger brother Cole wanted the Triple H Ranch more than he wanted air in his lungs. He loved everything about it. The land stretching for miles, the cattle grazing under big sky, the sound of boots on dry soil, the respect that came with being a rancher. I understood something different. I understood contracts, numbers, legal structures, and patience. Our father built the Triple H over 40 years. 23,000 acres of prime Montana grassland, 1,500 head of Angus cattle, water rights that made neighboring ranchers jealous. When he died suddenly from a heart attack, he left everything to both of us equally. Cole was 28. I was 32. I want to run it. Cole said at the funeral reception, I've been working this land since I was 12. You went off to college, worked in the city. This ranch is my life, Jackson. He wasn't wrong. After college, I spent 8 years in Denver working in agricultural finance. I understood ranch economics better than most ranchers, but I didn't have Cole's passion for the daily grind. I don't want to take it from you, I said carefully, but we need to be smart about this. That's when we made the agreement that would define everything. We sat in our father's office, now Cole's office, with our attorney, Frank Morrison. Here's what I'm proposing, I said. Cole runs a ranch. Full operational control. His name on everything public-facing. He makes the daily decisions. Cole's face lit up. Really? But I continued. I financed the major operations. Quietly. Every significant contract, every loan, every expansion. Those papers carry my signature as primary stakeholder. Not for control. For protection. Cole frowned. Why? Because if things go wrong, the family doesn't lose everything. Because banks trust my financial history more than yours. Because this protects both of us. Frank nodded approvingly. It's actually smart. Cole gets operational freedom. Jackson maintains financial oversight. Both names are protected. And when the ranch profits, Cole asked, split equally, just like Dad wanted. You do the work. I provide the capital and financial structure. We both benefit. Cole thought about it for maybe 30 seconds. Deal. We shook hands. Frank drew up the paperwork. It was complex, intentionally so. Cole had authority to run operations, hire staff, manage cattle, negotiate small contracts. But anything over $50,000 required my signature. All loans were in my name. The land title listed both of us, but with me as primary owner. This seems complicated, Cole said, signing without reading carefully. It protects us both, I assured him. He trusted me. We were brothers. That trust lasted 6 years. For the first 6 years, everything worked beautifully. Cole ran the ranch with genuine passion. The cattle herd grew from 1,500 to 2,200 head. He negotiated good prices with buyers. He hired competent staff. He modernized some operations while maintaining the traditions our father valued. His reputation in the ranching community grew. People respected him. They thought he was smart, capable, a worthy successor to our father's legacy. I stayed in Denver, working my finance job while monitoring the ranch's books remotely. Every quarter, Cole sent reports. Every major decision we discussed by phone. The profit splits were fair and growing. I visited twice a year, once in spring during calving season, once in fall during roundup. Cole always seemed happy to see me, proud to show me improvements. Then, about 7 months ago, something changed. The quarterly reports stopped coming on time. When they did arrive, they were incomplete, missing details, vague on expenses, short on specifics. Phone calls went unreturned for days. When Cole finally called back, he sounded distracted, dismissive. Everything's fine, Jackson. Just busy. You know how it is. But I didn't know. That was the problem. Then letters started arriving at my Denver apartment. First from a feed supplier. Payment 30 days overdue on account tied to Jackson Hayes. Then from an equipment leasing company. Second notice, outstanding balance of $47,000. Then from a regional cattle broker. Regarding disputed contract terms, every letter referenced my name, my credit, my signature, but I hadn't authorized any of these transactions. That's when I knew I had to return to Montana. I didn't call ahead, didn't warn him I was coming. I wanted to see the truth before anyone had time to hide it. I drove the 6 hours from Denver to the ranch on a Thursday morning in early September. The Montana landscape was beautiful as always. Golden grasslands, distant mountains, endless sky. The Triple H looked the same from the entrance. The wooden sign our father had carved still hung above the gate. Cattle grazed peacefully in the south pasture. Ranch hands worked in the distance. Everything appeared normal, but appearances lie. I parked near the main house and walked to the office barn. Through the window, I could see Cole at the desk, talking on the phone, laughing. He looked thinner than I remembered. His face was drawn, dark circles under his eyes. But he was animated, gesturing while he talked. When he finally noticed me standing in the doorway, his expression shifted rapidly. Surprise, then something like fear, then forced cheerfulness. "Jackson, what are you doing here?" He hung up the phone quickly. "Thought I'd visit. It's been almost 7 months." "You should have called. I would have prepared." "I don't need preparation, Cole. I need answers." His smile faltered. "About what?" I pulled the stack of letters from my bag and dropped them on the desk. "About these. About why suppliers and lenders I've never heard of are contacting me about overdue payments. About why your quarterly reports have been incomplete or missing." Cole glanced at the letters, then looked away. "There have been some cash flow issues. Temporary. I'm handling it." "Handling it how?" "By using my name without authorization." "I have authorization. We're partners." "Partners communicate, Cole. Partners don't hide problems until creditors start sending collection notices." He stood up abruptly. "I don't need you coming in here questioning how I run things. I've been doing fine for 6 years." "Then show me the books." "What?" "The financial records. Show me everything. Right now." Cole's jaw tightened. "I don't have time for an audit today. I'm busy. Make time." We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Cole sighed. "Look, I've been dealing with some health stuff. Stress, high blood pressure. Doc says I need to slow down. That's why things have been a little disorganized." It was a deflection, a sympathy play. But I didn't come for sympathy. "I'm sorry about your health, Cole. Genuinely. But that does explain financial irregularities tied to my name. I need to see the books. Today." He looked at me with something between resentment and desperation. "Fine. Give me an hour to pull everything together. I'll wait right here." Cole left the office, saying he needed to gather records from the filing room and the accountant's office in town. I didn't believe him, but I let him go. While he was gone, I started looking through what was immediately available. Recent invoices on his desk, computer files, the physical filing cabinets in the office. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Expenses had ballooned. Invoices for equipment I'd never approved. Contracts with new suppliers at inflated prices. Lease agreements for machinery we didn't need. But what disturbed me most was the pattern in the paperwork. My signature appeared on dozens of documents, authorization forms, loan applications, contract amendments. Except I'd never signed them. The signatures were close. Good forgeries. Someone who knew my handwriting well. My stomach turned. Cole had been forging my signature for at least 18 months, maybe longer, using my credit, my reputation, my legal liability, all while telling me everything was fine. When Cole returned 2 hours later with a thin folder, I was ready. "This is everything?" I asked, looking at the sparse documentation. "Most of it. Some records are still with the accountant." I opened the folder. Inside were basic profit and loss statements, heavily summarized, missing crucial details. Where are the individual transaction records? The supplier invoices? The loan documentation? "I told you, the accountant has most of that." "Then let's call him right now." Cole's face went pale. "He's not available today." It's 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Call him. Jackson, you're being unreasonable. I slam my hand on the desk. I'm being unreasonable? You've been forging my signature. Cole, I found at least 20 documents with fake authorizations. That's fraud. That's a felony. The color drained completely from Cole's face. I can explain. Then explain. He sat down heavily, suddenly looking much older than 34. Things got tight. Cattle prices dropped. We had a bad winter. Losses. I needed to move fast to keep things running. I couldn't wait for you to review every contract. So I made some executive decisions. By committing fraud. By doing what was necessary. Necessary? You put my name, my credit, my legal liability on contracts without my knowledge or consent. Do you understand what that means? Cole's hands were shaking. I was going to tell you. Once things stabilized. I just needed time. Time for what? To dig the hole deeper? He didn't answer. I gathered the papers and stood up. I'm staying in town tonight. Tomorrow morning, I want every financial record from the past 3 years. Every invoice, every contract, every bank statement, everything. If I don't have complete transparency by noon tomorrow, I'm calling our attorney and the county sheriff. Cole's voice was barely a whisper. You do that? To your own brother? I looked at him for a long moment. You did this to yourself, Cole. I'm just dealing with the consequences. I walked out. I stayed at the Mountain View Inn in town that night. Unable to sleep, I kept thinking about our father, about the legacy he'd built, about how Cole was destroying it through arrogance and incompetence disguised as passion. The next morning, Cole delivered 4 boxes of records to my hotel room. This is everything, he said quietly. I'm sorry, Jackson. I really am. Sorry doesn't fix fraud, Cole. He left without another word. I spent 3 days going through every document. The picture that emerged was devastating. Cole had been making increasingly poor decisions for over 2 years. Buying expensive equipment we didn't need. Signing contracts with suppliers who charged premium prices. Taking out short-term loans at predatory interest rates. He'd been covering losses by taking out new loans. A classic debt spiral. The ranch that should have been profitable was actually over $340,000 in debt. Debt tied to my name and credit. But here's what Cole had forgotten, or perhaps never understood. Legally, the ranch was still mine. He had operational authority. Yes, but ownership? That was clearly established in our original agreement. Drafted by Frank Morrison 6 years ago. Cole had authority to run things. But he had no ownership beyond his minority stake. He had control, but no future, not anymore. The realization settled over me like cold Montana morning. I didn't need to fight him. I just needed to exercise my legal rights. I called Frank Morrison from my hotel room. Frank, I need you to review the partnership agreement for the Triple H. Specifically, the clauses about financial oversight and breach of fiduciary duty. What's going on, Jackson? I explained everything. The forged signatures, the unauthorized contracts, the debt spiral. Frank was silent for a long moment. That's serious. That's potentially criminal fraud. But more importantly for our purposes, it's a clear violation of your partnership agreement. You have grounds to dissolve the operational partnership and resume full control. What does that mean practically? It means Cole loses his authority to make decisions. It means you can revoke his access to accounts, contracts, and operations. It means the ranch reverts to your sole management. Can he fight it? He can try. But the partnership agreement is airtight. I wrote it specifically to protect you in exactly this kind of situation. He signed it. He violated it. You have every legal right to enforce the consequences. What about his ownership stake? He still owns his minority percentage as outlined in your father's will. But ownership and operational control are separate issues. You can remove his control while maintaining his financial stake. Though given the current debt situation, that stake is probably worthless anyway. I thought about that. Cole would keep his minority ownership on paper, but it would be ownership of nothing but debt and failure. Start the paperwork. I told Frank, I want this handled quietly and legally. Understood. I'll have documents ready in 48 hours. I didn't confront Cole immediately. Instead, I did something more effective. I went directly to the people who mattered. Over the next week, I met privately with every major partner, supplier, and lender associated with the Triple H Ranch. I didn't badmouth Cole. I didn't need to. I simply showed them the contracts they'd ignored or never properly reviewed. As you can see, I'd say calmly, the primary stakeholder and financial guarantor of this ranch is Jackson Hayes. That's me. Any contract over $50,000 requires my signature for validity. Let me show you what my actual signature looks like versus what appears on your documents. The comparisons were obvious once people looked. Some suppliers were embarrassed. Others were angry. A few threatened legal action. You're welcome to pursue that. I'd say evenly, but I'd recommend you direct those concerns toward Cole Hayes, who apparently misrepresented his authority. I'm here to restructure our business relationship properly going forward. Most chose restructuring over litigation. I renegotiated contracts. I consolidated debts under better terms. I canceled equipment leases we didn't need. I found new suppliers with better prices. Slowly, methodically, I untangled the mess Cole had created. And with every meeting, every renegotiation, every contract correction, the message spread through the ranching community. Jackson Hayes is back, and he's in charge now. Cole heard about the meetings. Of course. Small communities talk. He called me furiously. What are you doing? You're going behind my back, undermining me. I'm correcting your mistakes, Cole. I'm exercising my legal rights as primary stakeholder, something I should have done more carefully years ago. This is my ranch. No, Cole, it's our father's ranch, and legally, it's primarily mine. You had authority to run it. You abused that authority. Now that authority is revoked. You can't do this. Frank Morrison says I can. The partnership agreement says I can. The law says I can. So yes, Cole, I can. And I am. He hung up on me. I didn't call back. 2 weeks after my return, Frank Morrison delivered the legal documents. Partnership dissolution. Revocation of operational authority. Reassignment of accounts and contracts. All perfectly legal. All thoroughly documented. I drove to the ranch on a Friday morning. Cole was in the north pasture with some ranch hands, checking cattle. I waited in the office. When he finally came in dusty and sweating, he saw me sitting at the desk, his desk. Get out of my chair, he said. It's not your chair anymore, Cole. I slid the legal documents across the desk. What's this? Partnership dissolution. Effective immediately. You no longer have operational authority over the Triple H Ranch. Your access to accounts is revoked. Your signature authority is canceled. The ranch returns to my sole management. Cole's face went from confusion to rage in seconds. You can't do this. Read the documents. I already have. Frank Morrison says they're airtight. He grabbed the papers, scanning frantically. This is betrayal. After everything I've done for this place. Everything you've done? Cole, you've buried this ranch in debt. You've committed fraud using my name. You violated every term of our agreement. This isn't betrayal. This is consequences. I'm your brother, and I'm the person whose credit and legal liability you abused for 2 years. Being brothers doesn't exempt you from accountability. Cole threw the papers at me. I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. You can try, but you'll lose, and you'll waste money you don't have on legal fees. Or you can accept reality and move on. Move on to what? This ranch is my life. I looked at him without sympathy. Then you should have treated it with more respect. Cole didn't leave voluntarily. I had to formally remove him. He showed up Monday morning like nothing had changed, ready to work. I met him at the gate with 2 ranch hands and Frank Morrison. Cole, you're no longer authorized to be on this property in a professional capacity. You're welcome to visit as family, but you can't work here or make operational decisions. This is insane. These men work for me. I turned to the ranch hands. Gentlemen, as of today, you work for me directly. Cole Hayes no longer has authority here. If you're uncomfortable with that change, I understand, and you're free to seek employment elsewhere with my recommendation. But if you stay, you answer to me. Both men looked uncomfortable, but nodded. We'll stay, Mr. Hayes, the older one said, long as the paychecks are good. They will be. Cole's face was red with humiliation and rage. You're going to regret this, Jackson. Maybe, but right now, I regret trusting you without proper oversight. We all make mistakes. He left in his truck, tires spitting gravel. Over the next month, I systematically changed everything. Bank accounts were closed and reopened under my sole authority. Contracts were transferred or renegotiated. The ranch branding, which had included both our names, was updated to just mine. The Triple H Ranch officially became Jackson Hayes' operation. Cole still technically owned his minority stake, according to our father's will, but that stake was now worth essentially nothing. The ranch was hundreds of thousands in debt. Until that debt was cleared, there would be no profits to split. Cole owned a percentage of a disaster, and I made sure he knew it. But removing Cole's authority wasn't enough. Revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's precise and patient. I didn't need to destroy Cole's reputation directly. I just needed to let it collapse naturally under the weight of truth. When other ranchers asked me about potential business with Cole, I didn't badmouth him. I simply stated facts. Cole Hayes no longer represents the Triple H Ranch. He no longer has authority over any livestock or land operations. He no longer has signing authority or financial standing in this industry. That was enough. In ranching communities, reputation is currency. Once people know you've lost authority, lost control, lost credibility, opportunities vanish. Cole tried starting his own consulting business, advising small ranchers on operations. It failed within 6 months. No one wanted advice from someone who'd bankrupted his own family ranch. He tried getting hired as a ranch manager elsewhere, but when potential employers called for references, they called me. I was listed as his most recent employer. I didn't lie. I simply told the truth. Cole has passion for ranching, but his financial management skills are severely lacking. He made unauthorized decisions that created significant debt. I wouldn't recommend him for any position involving financial responsibility. The job offers stopped coming. He tried borrowing money to start over, but his credit was ruined. The debt tied to his name from his time running the Triple H had destroyed his financial standing. Banks that once respected the Hayes name now saw him as a liability. Every door closed quietly. Every opportunity vanished. His name became a warning instead of a recommendation. About 8 months after I'd retaken control of the ranch, I ran into Cole at the feed store in town. He looked terrible. Thinner, older, defeated. Jackson, he said quietly. Cole. Awkward silence. How's the ranch? He finally asked. Recovering. Slowly. I've consolidated the debt, renegotiated most contracts, improved efficiency. We'll be profitable again in about 18 months. He nodded, not meeting my eyes. That's good. That's good. How are you doing? I'm managing. Got a job at the hardware store. Not much, but it pays rent. The hardware store. Cole Hayes, who once ran a 23,000-acre ranch, was now stocking shelves for minimum wage. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication. Instead, I felt tired. Cole, why did you do it? Why risk everything on stupid decisions and fraud? He was quiet for a long time. I wanted to prove I was as good as Dad. Better, even. I wanted people to respect me for what I built, not just what I inherited. And when things started going wrong, I panicked. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. But the hole just got deeper. You could have asked for help. And admit I was failing? Admit you were right to keep oversight? I couldn't. My pride wouldn't let me. Your pride cost you everything. I know. We stood there in the feed store aisle. Two brothers who'd once been close, now separated by betrayal and consequences. For what it's worth, Cole said quietly, I'm sorry. For all of it. I nodded. I believe you. But sorry doesn't fix what broke. I know that too. He walked away. I watched him go. This man who'd once been my younger brother, my partner, my responsibility. Now, he was just another cautionary tale. 18 months after retaking control, the Triple H Ranch was profitable again. Not massively profitable, but stable, growing, sustainable. I'd cleared most of the debt, rebuilt relationships with quality suppliers, hired competent managers, implemented better financial controls. The ranch our father built was recovering, but it would never be what it was before Cole's mistakes. Some damage is permanent. I received a letter from Cole around that time. He'd moved to Wyoming, working on a small ranch owned by someone who didn't know his history. I'm not writing to ask for anything, the letter said. I know I have no right. I just wanted you to know I think about the Triple H every day, about what I lost, what I destroyed. I'm trying to be better, to learn from my mistakes. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I understand what I did. I read the letter twice, then filed it away. I didn't respond. Some things don't need response. A few months later, I received a call from an attorney in Wyoming. Cole had been in an accident, kicked by a horse, serious head injury. He was in the hospital, unconscious, prognosis uncertain. He has you listed as next of kin and medical decision maker, the attorney said. We need your guidance on treatment decisions if he doesn't wake up. I drove the 7 hours to the Wyoming hospital. Cole was in ICU, tubes and monitors everywhere. Face pale and still, the doctor said his chances were 50-50. I sat by his bed for hours, looking at this man who'd once been my little brother. I thought about all our history, our childhood on the ranch, our father's funeral, the agreement we'd made, the betrayal, the consequences. What did I feel sitting there? Not satisfaction, not revenge, not even anger anymore. Just sadness and waste. Cole woke up 3 days later, confused, disoriented, but alive. When he finally recognized me, tears ran down his face. Jackson, you came. You're my brother, Cole. That never changed. Even after everything? Even after everything. Cole recovered, though not completely. The head injury left him with some cognitive issues, memory problems, difficulty with complex decisions. He couldn't return to ranch work. I helped him apply for disability benefits, helped him find a small apartment near a care facility, made sure he had what he needed, not out of forgiveness, not out of reconciliation, out of basic human decency. We weren't partners anymore. We weren't close, but I wouldn't let him suffer unnecessarily. One afternoon, about 2 years after the accident, Cole called me. Jackson, I need to ask you something. What? Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Really forgive me? I thought about that question carefully. I don't know, Cole. Forgiveness is complicated. I don't hate you. I don't wish you harm. But I also don't trust you. And I don't think that will change. That's fair, he said quietly. More than fair, probably. What I did, taking back the ranch, removing your authority, letting your reputation collapse, I'd do it all again. You gave me no choice. I know, but I also recognize you're dealing with consequences that will last the rest of your life. That's punishment enough. I don't need to add to it. Is the ranch doing well? Very well. We're expanding again. Carefully this time. I'm glad. Dad would be glad. Yes, he would. We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years. Today, 5 years after I retook control of the Triple H Ranch, life is stable. The ranch is profitable and growing. I've hired excellent managers who run daily operations while I handle financial oversight from Denver, where I return to live full-time. I visit Montana monthly, but the ranch runs smoothly without me constantly present. I've built the systems and accountability that should have existed from the beginning. Cole still lives in Wyoming. We talk occasionally, brief, cordial conversations. He asks about the ranch. I give him basic updates. He doesn't ask for money, doesn't ask for a role, doesn't ask for another chance. He knows that bridge is permanently burned. His minority ownership stake in the ranch finally became worth something again as we cleared debt and returned to profitability. Last year, his share of the profits was about $28,000. Not much for a ranch that size, but more than he'd have managing a hardware store. I could have found legal ways to eliminate even that. But I didn't. Not because I forgive him. Not because we're reconciled. But because the point was never total destruction. The point was consequences. Accountability. Justice. Cole lost authority. Lost control. Lost reputation. Lost his future in the ranching industry. Those consequences are permanent. The small financial benefit he receives now doesn't change that. He'll never run another ranch, never make major decisions, never benefit from the Hayes name the way he once did. That's revenge enough. Recently, I was interviewed by a regional agricultural magazine about turning around struggling ranch operations. The interviewer asked about the Triple H's recovery. "You inherited a difficult situation," she said. "How did you stabilize things so effectively?" I thought carefully about my answer. The ranch was struggling because of poor management and lack of accountability. The solution wasn't complicated. Implement proper financial controls, enforce contracts, make decisions based on numbers rather than emotion, and remove anyone who couldn't operate with integrity. Even family, especially family. Family relationships don't exempt anyone from basic business standards. If anything, family should be held to higher standards because they have more to lose. That sound harsh. Maybe, but ranching is harsh. The land doesn't care about your feelings or your relationships. It responds to competent management or it fails. People are the same way. The interview was published last month. I received several messages from other ranchers dealing with similar family business struggles. "Thank you for being honest about the family aspect." One wrote, "My brother is running our operation into the ground, but I've been too afraid to intervene. Your story gave me courage." Maybe that's the real purpose of what happened with Cole. Not just my story, not just my revenge, but a lesson for others about the importance of accountability, even when it's painful, especially when it's painful. I kept the ranch. I restored its reputation. I rebuilt what was broken, not perfectly, but functionally. Cole lived. He survived. He even benefits minimally from what I rebuilt. But he'll never run anything again, never hold authority again, never profit from what he once abused. Because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about making sure someone never profits from what they abuse again. That mission is complete. The Triple H Ranch stands strong. Cole Hayes does not. And that's exactly how it should be. Sometimes justice looks like taking back what's yours and making sure the person who broke your trust never gets a chance to break anything else. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. And in the ranching business, just like in life, wisdom always wins in the end. The end.